Post-note debit is a term used to describe a restriction imposed by banks on specific amounts, preventing customers from making withdrawals, transfers, or debits from their accounts. Now, you might wonder why all these restrictions, low cash flow and shortage of cash in this time of celebrations. Cash is a major factor in our society. We can say it eases the cost of living and acquiring the various amenities that we need. You're welcome to Insight Today. I am Jumai Manson. And now I have a guest who'll be giving us his two-cover when it comes to the issue at hand. He is an academician. He loves sports. He is the Deputy Registrar of the Federal University, Lokoja. He is very vast in discussing issues. He is Dr. Chris Balogun. Don't go anywhere. Insight Today will be back shortly. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Insight Today, and we're looking at the restriction on cash flow. Yes, and like I said, our guests will be joining us via Zoom on this program, on this discussion that we will be having today. Now, looking at the restrictions when it comes to cash flow, you have a restriction when it comes to debit amounts. You, as an individual, must collect from your own account. Now, for so many Nigerians, this is called hardship in this Yuletide season, when you have lots of things to buy, lots of things to acquire at about this time when it comes to the celebrations at hand. Now, for those of us out there wondering, the shortage of cash in these times is very, very unexplainable. And of course, I have my guest here. He is the Deputy Registrar of Federal University, Lokoja. Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Christopher Balogun. Mr. Christopher, are you here with us? Hello? All right. I'm sure Mr. Christopher will connect his audio and he'll be part of us on the program. All right. As I was saying, talking about the scarcity when it comes to cash flow that is ongoing right now, many Nigerians, especially those in around states, are finding it really hard to actually withdraw amounts of money from, some will tell you, from 5,000 to 10,000 to the max 20,000 naira, even when you go to their banks at the automated machines, the ATM. And it's sad to see, sad to know. For some, they feel it is political at this time. You know, when you hear the Yuletide season, we hear a lot of things that happen. It's either scarcity of fuel, it's either there is one sort of problem or the other. And some may wonder, is the government really involved, or they play a really hard knot when it comes to this issue at hand? But I'm sure Mr. Christopher Balogun will be spreading in more light on how it has been, he as the Deputy Registrar, how it has been when it comes to his family. All right, good afternoon, Mr. Christopher Balogun. Are you with us now?
Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right.
And you?
Now, Okay, like I said, it's very sad to see about the scarcity of Naira. There's no much. It's so sad that the Naira, there's a low cash flow and shortage of cash in these times of celebration. What's your take on that? What do you have to say concerning that? Has it affected you in any area, or you're good?
Yeah, before we run to maybe make our judgment as we are quick to do in Nigeria, we first have to look for the reason for this cash policy. It has to do with government intention to improve the economy. First, the policy was implemented with a view to increase employment opportunity actually in the country, and also to reduce cash-related robbery, and also to reduce cash-related corruption, thereby attracting foreign investors to Nigeria. Those factors actually inform the government in the implementation of it. And according to the central bank governor, he said the prevalent cash scarcity was informed because of the poor implementation of the cash policy by the last administration, and also as a result of holding by some big with Nigerians. So the intention of the government have been good, it's just that Nigeria also created the artificial scarcity, and the poor implementation by last administration also influenced the scarcity we are seeing now.
Okay, now, Mr. Christopher Balogu, is this supposed to be a good or a bad thing? Now, looking at
The
it
reality is that
critically.
at times, most of the time in Nigeria, good intention always end up as bad policy. The intention was actually good because of the quantum level of corruption in the country. As we can see, all the agencies that have been maybe set up by the government to tackle corruption have failed woefully in addressing this corrupt practice. And everything is always related to cash. You see people storing cash, even foreign currency in their millions, billions in septic tanks. And government really want to reduce it, because if we can effectively implement it, it will actually improve employment opportunity in the country. At the same time, improve our direct foreign investment in Nigeria by foreign investors.
Okay, so how has this restriction of cash flow affected your shopping when it comes to, the celebration at hand?
Actually, it has. Well, no, this is a very difficult question. It
I
has not really
know.
affected because I make sure that I plan before this season. I plan months ahead. Uh, I know that December period is a period that people they generally create artificial crisis in terms of transportation, in terms of business opportunities, in terms of maybe even accessibility of cash. It has always been there, just that it has been exacerbated because of quantum involvement of Nigerians in the practices.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chris Balogu, let us quickly go on a quick break. We'll be back with insights today. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you are welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Inside Today on Global Television. And we're looking at restriction when it comes to low cash flow and shortage of cash in these times of the Yuletide season. And I am joined by Mr. Christopher Balogu. He is the Deputy Registrar, Federal University, Lokoja. Mr. Christopher, are you here with us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so now, before we went on that break, I asked a question and I said, how is it that, has this affected you or any members that you know negatively when it comes to buying things during this time of the Yuletide season?
Yeah, generally we have to go back to the basis of economics 101. Anytime demand exceeds supply, there's tendency to be artificial scarcity, and at the end of the day, it wasn't the inflationary level. So naturally, even if I plan toward this, I've envisioned it and I've make my preparation to make sure this crisis doesn't affect me or my family. Along the line, because it's a systemic kind of crisis or failure, it affected everybody. There's a
Okay.
push up in price of even the regular fuel we get, food stuff and other things that we need in the market, because the forces of demand actually have exceeded supply.
Okay. Now looking at it critically, you mentioned something. You said there's always, during the Yuletide season, there's always artificial crisis. Can you say this is part of it? And who do you think is causing this artificial crisis that you mentioned earlier?
The reality is that at every situation, you should know, when there's crisis, there's people that tend to benefit from it. There is this panic hoarding. Some Nigeria hoard their money actually. And according to the report of the central bank governor, Yemi Cardozo, he said he attended this World Bank, it was at the World Bank Nigeria Development Update this December, and he said the Central Bank of Nigeria, the prevailing cash crisis was caused by the fact that the Naira, the redesign policy was very, very poorly implemented, and people resorted to hoarding. And this order has been the reason for this cash crisis that we are facing now. And anytime there's a scarcity of anything, it shoot up price of goods and services, whether we like it or not. Even when we pray about it, it doesn't go away, it stays.
Let me ask you now. I know because you're a registrar, and of course you have family members who are into businesses. Have you heard any complaint on how this has affected the sale of goods in the market with this low cash flow and the shortage of cash in which we are in right now during this Yuletide season? Has it affected? Have you heard? And do you think it has affected when it comes to buying and when it comes to selling?
Actually, it has affected. There's nothing we can do about it. I told you about the forces of demand and supply. The
Yes.
demand has exceeded supply. So prices have to go up, and it's a lead to achieve. In fact, to solve this crisis, the Central Bank of Nigeria also have withdrawn its policy on especially the on the withdrawal limit of 500,000. They have suspended charges for individual withdrawals, and for corporate withdrawals, 3 billion. They have suspended all charges on it to ease the crisis of Nigeria, because already nobody can deny they've ordered this money, other factors crept in, and the forces of demand and supply has crept in, and unfortunately, demand has actually exceeded supply in the supply of cash. So inflation will go up, definitely. This is simple mathematics or
Oh
economics.
yes. Oh yes, but so many Nigerians are not finding this funny at all. Mr. Christopher Balogun, some are complaining, some are murmuring, and it's not. So for them, they feel, why do I have so much cash in my bank account and yet I can just withdraw so little? Some says it's an infringement of the human rights of an individual. Many have said a lot, and like you said, we bring up all these false crisis when we are close to the any festivity and all of that. Do you think it's governmental? Do you think the government just has a role to play, or is just a little bit of shaking, or do you think it's political, like some will say? And why, really?
The reality is that we can actually say all of the above. Know that in Nigeria, some people point in every institution, the government policy to make sure Nigeria go into a cashless society has its own advantage actually, because it will increase employment opportunities. As I said, it will also reduce car-related robbery, and we also reduce cash corruption, related corruption, which has been killing the country. This cash related corruption, if addressed, we actually attract foreign investors to Nigeria. And that's what Nigeria is trying to attract. But people have gone to all this cash. Some people withdrew with maybe in carnival with some of the bank managers, the money big with the intention of the government have been very, very good. Now, if you notice, prior to this with cash scarcity, there has been increase in all these the apps. More people have subscribed for these apps. Both credit and debit cards, people have subscribed for it so that they can ease their business transaction. But unfortunately, Nigerians, as we were now, because there's no consequence for any illegality so far, this administration is even trying to make sure they nip it at the bud, but it will take time. It's so unfortunate that the forces of supply and demand comes into being. But I believe it will be addressed because the central bank has already issued policy on how to stem it down by making sure they suspend all charges on withdrawal above 500,000 for individual and 3 million for corporate bodies.
There's a particular data that says that 75 million accounts will be restricted or blocked due to the BVN. Do you think it has anything to do with once BVN, going through the right procedure when it comes to going in with your NIMC and all of that? Do you think it has anything to do with it?
Please, you come again.
Do you think it has anything to
again,
do with
please.
the BVN? Maybe that is why there is low cash flow or shortage of cash. Maybe restrictions when it comes to operating one's account is due to the BVN, incorrect BVN, or people do not have the right BVN when it comes to a bank and an individual. Do you think it has to do with that and all this unnecessary panic in which we're getting now?
The reality is that it's not linked to it. It's just, I feel this has to do with the panic buying or panic hoarding. The fact that the governments want to make sure we're going to a cashless policy has its own advantage. At the same time, it comes with its own attendant disability. So people try to beat it, actually created this thing because this case is caused by or whether we like it or not. And the policy was poorly implemented by the past administration under Emefiele government when he was governor of Central Bank. But so far, so good. The present Central Bank governor has risen up to the occasion because he made a very strong statement. And he said all charges for him to have embarked on it. I can see the good faith. I believe within for example, in some areas in Abuja, presently I'm in Abuja, the issue has eased down because people can now access cash. Today I collected more from the ATM. I also collected some from the POS vendor. I was surprised just the rate of 200 every 5,000 naira. So it wasn't that bad as of today.
Okay, now I want to ask, for every action there's always a reaction, right, Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Now, what are the implications when it comes to this low cash flow, or may I say shortage of cash? If anything is not really done about it, what do you think it will lead to?
According to the investigation intelligence report by a private economic analyst, that SB Merchant Intelligence Division, it says it's a loss to 37% laying of staff by the various business owners, and it has also led to
All right, I think we're having a little bit of network issues there. Of course, Mr. Christopher.
unemployment. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And they have to resort to reduction of working hours. Actually, it's affected businesses and it has led to loss of profit by a business owner. At the same time, because the business owner has to sustain his business, some are forced to cut the workforce, exacerbating the unemployment problem in the country.
Okay. Some say.
For sure, the attendant disability has led to low standard of living so far in the country, but I believe we've got over it because it's a policy that has been addressed. The government has been practiced so far in addressing it. But for now, in the interim, we expect that hardship, but I am very, very optimistic that it will get better. People are the economy will bounce back and people will start to their business.
But this time, it's just, I think this is just the most, it's such a wrong time for there to be restrictions when it comes to low cash flow and shortage of cash due to the Yuletide season. Some people have their savings in the bank and they cannot even retrieve their savings. They cannot buy anything when it comes to food, when it comes to the basics like Christmas clothing for their children. And it's just sad to see that some say it is really, really tough at this time. All right, now, Mr. Christopher Balogun, we'll be going on a quick break. And then when we come back, Inside Today will continue. Don't go anywhere and stay tuned.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, and if you're just tuning in, this is Inside Today on Global Television, and we're talking about restrictions when it comes to low cash flow and shortage of cash in this time of celebrations. It's really unfortunate, and of course, Mr. Christopher Balogun, who is the Deputy Registrar, Federal University Lokoja, has been throwing in more light on how this has caused hardship. It has actually caused trauma for some households. And of course, Mr. Christopher Balogun, are you here with us? Hello, Mr. Christopher.
Okay, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, Mr. Christopher, no, just thinking out loud, do you think there's anything the government can do at this time to reduce this hardship? Because so many people are complaining it is tough times. So what do you think the government can do to reduce this this crunch in which we have, and to, give it that remedy that it is not political, it's just for the best of all Nigerians at about this time?
If you read the breaking news for today or yesterday, the government already reduced they are putting subsidy on transportation to the tune of 50% of the cost to ease the movement for Nigerians. I know that everything in Nigeria has to do with transport. Even your goods of service have to be transported from one point to the other. For the government to have taken that such step, it's going to come at a huge cost. That means the government should concern for the citizen. And for the central bank governor, Jemi Kadudu, to have said that they've already withdrawn every policy on charges as regards charges on withdrawals, especially for individual withdrawal and corporate withdrawals. So we see it as a good sign. I believe within the next 2 days, we'll see a better inflow of cash in the system. It's a systemic thing, and it's just like when you have a system problem, a little crisis will become magnified. See, people can have access to the cash. Generally, it affects everything from the price of goods down to individual comfort and morals. Morals have been poor, but the good news is that we're in season of sharing. Whether you lack or not, this Christmas you can walk up to any of your family units, or any of your friends that is privileged to be living above water, and you have a nice time with them. So I'm very, very optimistic that within the next 24 hours there will be improvement in cash flow.
I like your optimism. And you said in the next 24 hours, who knows? They can be like the cash flow will just start flowing in. Now, Mr. Christopher Balogun, for someone out there who life savings right now as we speak, today is the 21st, like 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. That's how many more days to Christmas? And someone that has not bought anything due to this low cash flow, what do you advise and what can you say in that regards?
I believe before midnight, they are going to make, there's an emergency, I believe, response by the government. There will be cash in most of the ATM locations, and when you have access to those cash, at least it can make the minimum withdrawal to prepare for the festivity. And the good news is that some bank will work tomorrow, so it's never too late. You can make withdrawal from the bank. I'm very sure of that. At least this government has shown concern for the citizenry by making sure there are take practice steps in resolving any emerging crisis that wasn't even envisaged before. It's a sad situation, but I can't really criticize them because they quickly respond to it. At least this is a government that responds to issues. Yeah, I have to give them credit for it. Even though we have other, when you look at the economic conscience, it's normal for someone to be angry. It's normal for someone to feel offended that things have not been going well, especially with this removal of oil subsidy. But it's a necessary step in revamping the economy. I believe the advantage that the government want to achieve with this cashless policy, when it's fully mature, we will all smile. So for now, I will appeal to Nigeria to please bear with the government. Things will be better. If we don't have a wonderful Christmas, I can assure we are going to have a very wonderful New Year season.
But you know what, Mr. Christopher Balogun, when you say a cashless society, it's not everyone. Is it everyone that can actually adapt to that? It's not like if you talk about people in the rural areas who are farmers who are not literate. It's very hard to see how well that will happen or how well that will flow. Do you think it's something that, as Nigerians, one can quickly grasp with all of this? They might just feel as if there are lots of loopholes when it comes to this cashless society we are trying to obtain.
Mrs. Juma mindset, I think your degree of intellectualism is beginning to affect me. Now, when you mentioned the rural area, I don't want to go into another theory. That brings us to the theory of urbanization, which is urban bias theory. We all know that most people have moved to the urban area. That's where we are densely populated. The rural area is there. And the reality that you send money to your aunties in the village, because I know that your parents live in the cities. I don't want to expose you. Then you send money to your aunties that are in the village. Most of us take care of our people in the village, actually. And technology has actually extended to the village setting. For sure, there may be one or two challenges. Nobody can deny that, but I believe that just like in Nigeria, the money from diaspora has always helped the family unit. The same way, money from the urban city has helped the rural area because most of us we never forget our loved ones that stay in the village or rural area. So if this cashless policy will be a problem, like my mom never uses an Android phone. They have subscribed to the cashless policy. By having an ATM, they can make withdrawal from the nearest POS. It's a bit tough, but with time it will get better. You know, the reality is that if it becomes a law and we don't have options, there will be improvement. And with this improvement in technology, with the 4G, 5G bandwidth, things will definitely get better in terms of communication or maybe cash transaction. The bitter truth is that I can't deny that the crisis is not there, which we call teaching problem. It's a teaching problem. It comes with every new innovation or creativity. But with the concerns of government so far, the government should concern. No matter what, even look at the issue of fuel subsidy. They make sure they pay city amount. Even if the implementation is not perfect, we can see the human side of it, human face of it. With this crisis, they suspended all charges on withdrawals, which will actually affect earnings of government. It shows that we have a government that have a human face. So the only thing we can do is to make sure we support them and make sure that the policy works also. Because the human factor also is here, the Nigerian factor, where people hold this money. Even the pure vendor that have enough cash in their system, hike their prices where they can effectively dispense of this cash, this money to people at the regular rate. Both of them hike their prices. So yeah, I think it's a collective responsibility. But I believe we'll get over it. I'm very optimistic about that one.
You know why I asked that question, Mr. Christopher Balogun? You know, earlier when we had this issue of shortage of cash, when we had to do away with the old Naira notes and make new with the new Naira notes, there were some people in Nigeria, some parts, some states who didn't even know how the new Naira notes looked like. And they were still using the old Naira notes for transaction. That's why I asked that question that came on board that we spoke about. But truly, there are some people in Nigeria that don't really know what is actually happening when it comes to the shortage of cash. They continue using the old legal tender, which is the old Naira notes, and it didn't bother. And when you ask what's going on, and they'll tell you they don't even know what is happening. So creating an awareness when it comes to that, I think is key, and I think it's very, very important. Now, looking at this shortage of cash now, as we are now, is there, what way do you think, which way forward now? Which way do you think, in your own opinion? Because every year when it comes to Unitide celebration, there is always one thing that creeps up. If it's not shortage of cash that we're having now, it's fuel or violence somewhere or something. Do you think it's a regular or a norm, or it's a setup, or you just think it's artificial, it will come and it will go? Hello, Mr. Balogun, are you there?
All the questions you have been putting very loud. Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Please go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that your questions are deeper than it. If I have to effectively answer a question, that means you have to go into the classroom and start analyzing it. But
Yes,
to give
please
a
go
summary
ahead.
of what you have, the question you've asked me,
Yes.
the bitter thing is that some of these problems, as rarely said, is man-made. Nigeria has reached a point whereby the government has to take action. And some of this action, if they are taken by government, will come with this attendant disability. As I rarely said, it will come with its teething problem. But the good news is that this government has shown human face. Remember when Tinubu came on board, the administration of Tinubu government, the first thing he did was to suspend it and gave the December the deadline. And he didn't even go ahead to implement the cashless policy this December. But because of the fact that Nigeria always want to cash on every situation, well, even the government, well, some people want to cash out on it and enrich themselves. That's why they created this artificial scarcity by holding the Naira note to make their bank manager make huge withdrawals and hide. Some even connive with the ATM vendors, because some of them, they have a series of ATM vendors down, they connive with them. But I'm not too bothered, because the government of the day show have human face, and I believe they are going to improve in their service delivery to Nigerians, and with the course of time, every of these problems will be addressed. Even if not addressed, it will be minimized, because we can see the human aspect of it. You know, my own calculation is the fact that anytime there's crisis, the government of the day make sure that they implement or enact policy towards reducing the crisis or the impact of the citizenry. And you can't go with that away. People have their grievances, people have their like lack of faith in the system. But when you look at it from the point of view of planning, you get policy making decision, you realize that the government they never sleep on their house. They're always making sure that they find solution to reduce the crisis or the problem the Nigerians are facing. So far so good. I believe the crisis is there. Yeah, you can't win them away. Or the crisis are there, you can't win them away. But the government are also trying their best in addressing the crisis. That's why the policy of by the central bank governor to even suspend charges on every withdrawal of 500,000 for individual withdrawal and 3 million for corporate body withdrawal. It shows good faith that the government really cares for the people. It's just that
Okay.
it can get better, they can improve on it. And with
All right,
what
all
you
right,
are
Mr.
doing,
Christopher. All right,
implicating the
Mr. Christopher
public,
Balogun.
everybody, it will help.
Okay, Mr. Christopher Balogun, I am going to come back on the program Inside Today. Let's quickly go on a quick break, and Inside Today will be back. Don't go anywhere. Remember, we're talking about shortage of cash flow and, of course, restrictions when it comes to cash in this Yuletide season. Don't go anywhere. Inside Today, we'll be back. You're welcome back to Insight Today on Global Television. And we're just looking at why all these restrictions when it comes to low cash flow and shortage of cash. And I am joined with no other than Dr. Christopher Balogun. He is the Deputy Registrar of Federal University, Lokoja. And it has been a pleasure having him on the program. He has been throwing insights back to back when it comes to governance, when it comes to the restriction of cash flow, how important it is for us as Nigerians that things will get better, right, Mr. Christopher Balogun?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you. It will get better.
Still looking at this matter of hand, for someone who is out there, let me bring it home now for us to relate. For a woman who is not educated, that doesn't understand all of these policies, and her husband is trying to break it down to her to make her see reason why they cannot buy what they need for the Yuletide season today, and is asking for money, and he gives less of what she is asking for. What would you tell such a family with a woman that doesn't understand all of these policies?
The essence of Christmas is to celebrate the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth and the fact that the coming comes with hope that we will be redeemed from our sins and destruction. So that is the key of Christmas. It's not about this eating and wine that we limit Christmas to. So what you just told that, don't worry, I believe in miracle. It's a miracle period. Mr. Mansi, are you aware that every December, this prayer that the Lord can the year with the success come to pass in every family? Anyhow, you always get a return for your labor. Anyhow, you always get a surplus for your labor. And it's like that. It has been like that even when I was unemployed. So I believe that there's hope. Christmas is just by Monday. There'll be at least in our bank, our commercial banks tomorrow. Most of the banks will close late because of the government, I think, policy and directive that they should make sure they resolve this crisis or limit the crisis to bare minimum. So all the crisis that is at their visage, I believe is not as bad as we think. For sure, people may panic and think that the government has not done enough. For the fact that there's been policy statement by the central bank governor, there has been policy statement by the president of the federation, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. We are sure that this crisis will be nipped in the bud and everybody will want smile again. We are going to have a wonderful Christmas. I can assure you the best Christmas so far.
Okay. Yes, I am sure. But Mr. Christopher Balogun, still looking at it, when you said the government have done, but some people feel they have not done enough, that they need to do more. Because funny enough, most people who I spoke with, they were saying they're tired of all of these things that pops up here and there. If it's not cash that we're facing now, like I've said, it's either fuel, it's either violence. When do you think all of these artificial problems will come to an end, where we have to go through Yuletide seasons without any hitches, no fuel interruptions, no cash interruptions, no violence, everything goes smooth sail? Do you think we'll ever get to Nigeria like that? Mr. Christopher, are you there?
What is this problem? This start with this transition. It started with the past administration of with Nigerian successive government since the advent of the Fourth Republic, 1999, where Obasanjo took over the government, and he perverted till date. The reality is that the government of the day, they not even spend up to a year in government, and they met lots of challenges. And this challenge that could have destroyed the country. But look at it, they took the bold step that comes with the attendant disability. You can't wish it away. There's nothing like that you do that don't come with attendant disability. Let me tell you, give you a scenario. If there's a bad road for 20 kilometers, for sure on that bad road, where vehicle will break down, there'll be thought of reduction in business activities. They immediately start that road. It will lead to overspeeding and accident and death. They call it the attendant disability. So I don't look at the attendant disability of this crisis. The crises are there and people are ready to click on it. The security challenge is not the work of this government. The government is even trying their best. If you remember, the minister of the FCT, we never have a minister like His Excellency Governor from Wiki. They made so many policies that is good for the growth of this country. They have made so many network to improve lives in Abuja, but people are kicking against him. Some people are making comments to even undermine it. The bitter thing that the road to success or out of this quagmire is a tough one, and we must dot up to address it once and for all, or off or never. The bitter truth is that the government is making sure and they are making the necessary policy to make sure this thing reduce. For sure, as rightly said, maybe we should push them to do more. I agree with you, they should do more. But we can't say they are not responding to the issues on ground. Every crisis, they always make a policy statement. It's just that the crises have been there, the cartels have come in, the cartels are coming. If I don't want to go into other issues, you are right after. I rightly said that your degree of intellectualism can even put me in trouble and answer this your question. It's a 2 days response, because when you talk about security, we can talk about that one.
Oh my God, Mr. Christopher
So the company,
Balogun.
we can talk about security because so many things come. So, but as I summarize, the government is
No,
making
we're not.
effort in reducing
I
the
still,
poverty.
I still have a question to ask. So I don't want to put you in any troubles like you have mentioned. But the truth is, first of all, there's a step in the right direction when there's a directive that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has actually made by slashing 50% of transport fare, and he's working with the railway unions and all of that here in interstate travels. That's a step in the right directions. But do you think some Nigerians are prepared for this sort of patience? Because we have been patient, compared to the last administration, and then now this administration with fuel, removal of fuel subsidy, and now this. And it's, the most painful part about this is my right. This is my money in the bank, and I have little or no limit or access to it. So it's very painful for some people to say we need to be patient. How patient do you want us to be, and how patient do we have to get for us to make headway?
You have been patient enough. So we need to be patient one little more time. Little. Why we say little more time have you, and all of us is fine. We need to be patient.
A little more
Since the
patient.
government have never respected, they've issued policy statements as regards this crisis. So if the government can issue policy statement, they've even cut off their access to maybe revenue generation from their business transactions, so that to ease this crisis. What more can I say? Actually, the policy statement by the central government to cut off charges on this withdrawal shows who you are part of the government and the sympathy on part of the government to reduce the suffering of Nigerians. It's just that when you have what they call, I don't want to go into politics or rhetoric. You have people that are bent on not seeing the good part of the government. They didn't create the government, they inherited the problem. The government didn't create the crisis, they inherited it. And they are doing their best possible to resolve the crisis.
But you know
I
what,
believe
Mr.
everything will be better. Everything will improve as time goes on. I believe.
I always hear this, that for administrations that have come on board who have won the elections, when it comes to presidential, when it comes to gubernatorial elections, they keep saying they inherited these problems. Well, I feel when you're going into any political appointment, you should find a way to... What? You should find a way to solve these problems, so that when there are issues on ground like this, you won't give the excuse of we inherited these problems. For some Nigerians are not patient enough when they hear this sort of thing. It's really disheartening and really, really sad. I know we inherited this problem as an excuse just to see if we can malinger or get by. Don't you think so, Mr. Christopher Balogun?
You have to be fair to this administration. They never give excuses. It's just that the problems were there before they took over government, and they can't just lie that the problem wasn't there. We have the problem of insecurity. We have the problem of corruption. We have the problem of banditry. We have the problem of terrorism, and these have undermined the Nigerian state as a whole, and maybe the growth and prosperity of the country. Do you know that Nigeria is a perfect example of what they call a patrimonial state? that they are run from parentage and patronage. You get well, I don't want to go into it, but so far the government have make effort to sustain their impact by bringing policy at least that is pulling us away from this quagmire. Because if not for this intervention or decision taken by the presidency, no matter how bad people see it, it has disadvantage. And the advantage that it has saved us, it has given us that power to also engage in international transaction, international business that can improve the country's GDP and network with other global economies where they can transact business and improve our stand among the business community. There are lots of policies that the government has enacted that it's not automatic. It takes time. It takes time before it matures. And we can see the commitment on part of the government to resolve this thing. He has hired the best of brains he has brought them back into the economy to help pilot the economy. But the problem is still there. Nobody can deny it. And Nigerians are so angry because it has been long. But I believe with the course of time, like next year, we know that some of the refineries will start operation, will start working. So the forces of demand and supply will come into being. And when supply start exceeding demand, prices must drop, no matter how you think about it. You can't deny. If I came to Abuja some days back and I can see the presence of security operation on the road, for sure, people in created why is security on the road is to guarantee your peace and my peace, your safety and my safety. So, what are we saying? They are making effort. They are also overstretched.
Well,
I was in the federal capital territory at the SCD 2 days ago, and I can see that they work till late in night. It has never been so with any ministry in Nigeria. They must have shut down by now, but they work, and I can see the degree of professionalism being piloted by some of these ministers. I believe things will definitely improve.
Yeah, I also believe, well, Mr. Christopher Balogun, I also believe and I pray that things get better. But, you know, for some of us, we want less words and more action. All right, this is where I have to draw the curtain. Mr. Christopher Balogun, who is an academician, he loves sport. He is the Deputy Registrar of the Federal University, Lokoja. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion with me today. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then there's something you said before we go, that we should be patient, continue to be patient, and still have patience, right? As Nigerians.
But we should do our part. Shortly, things will improve, get better. Like as from next year, we're in money economy. We depend on petroleum products. And most of these refineries, the private one and the public, will start functioning. So I believe things will improve. And I'm very sure of it.
Okay, till when we see it.
All what is happening in Nigeria has to do with forces of demand and supply. That's the simple arithmetic. If the supply now start improving, the demand, the pressure caused by demand will be softened, and things will naturally get better. Price of things will drop.
Thank you so much,
These are services I can assure you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Christopher Balogun. He is the Deputy Registrar of the Federal University, Lokoja. Thank you so much for being a part of our program. And like I said earlier on, this is where I draw the curtain on the program Insight Today, looking at the low cash flow and what so many Nigerians are facing in this period, this unitide period of celebration. Like in the words of Mr. Christopher Balogun, let's continue to be patient. Let's have patience and instill patience. This particular issue at hand starts with you and I to make it better, and everything will be fine. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for being a part of Insight Today with me. Just don't go anywhere. It's Global Television. Up next is the news at 3.